Look, the whole setup of the course is very comprehensive in theory, but I found that there was perhaps little time for all concepts to be drilled down. I also found a high level of assumed knowledge where people would come into the course ideally expected to know their networking well, know DNS well enough, because now we'll be dealing with more the background, the back end components of DNS, how to set up these components and doing these labs. So perhaps the theory concept could also deal with a basic, totally fundamental, what is DNS and the reason why. What I found with the course so far is the reason why of doing things is not necessarily at the core of the course.
Okay, I found the course very useful for my purpose, and the pace of the lecture is friendly. It's acceptable. It's not fast. It's not slow, and the lecturer is and the people that he is working with are very helpful. And if you're struggling with something, they assist you, so that at the end you are able to complete the task that you are doing and understand it better.
I really enjoy the course material because I think DNS, the domain name system, is one of the more enigmatic but critical systems with respect to the internet. And so I think it's really important to get a good understanding of it, because I don't think a lot of people do, and that can make you stand out.
I thought it was all very, very well done, very insightful. You can see that Mark and the team are very much experts in the field. They've very thought out the structure of the course. Everything flows nicely. It all builds onto each other. It all paces out well. And I think that the lecture material is also well made. It's easy to follow. It doesn't hold your hand the whole way, but it allows you to actually think for yourself about what DNS is and how you should be using it. And I think I've gained a lot from the course.
So when I came into the course, my background is in public policy, lobbying and advocacy. So technically, I came into the course with no technical experience. However, I think the faculty was amazing. The facilitator, Mark, he's a technical person, so his explanations went a little over my head from time to time, but just the support staff that was there to sort of assist with little questions that I have, So like I said, I came in with no technical experience, but it was a very step-by-step. I needed someone that was going to go very slowly for me to be able to grasp just basic, simple concepts, and that's what I got. And I think the biggest the game changer for me was day 3, where we were finished literally at 3 o'clock and we could go home. So, and most of the work then I did with minimal assistance. So I think that was when I realized that, okay, I sort of have a hang on it. The material themselves, very confusing. The exercises and just the formulas for the exercises and how to respond to the exercises was just all over. But I think Joy said it well when he said the exercise is like real world. You're not going to get the material, or not the material per se, but like the formulas for resolving issues, DNS related queries or issues, in a structured way. You must dig. So just the running around within the manual was a little bit of an adventure, and it was lots of fun. I'm a very giggly person. I'm always just giggling, especially when I'm confused, so I was giggling throughout. Eventually found my way and was able to work through the exercises, like I said, with minimal assistance.
I think the quality was good, considering that I had to step out of my comfort zone. I'm a marketer, so I have no clue of what IT is all about. And I think for me, it was essential for me to be in this course because a huge part of my role is aimed at promoting DNS as far as the ZA is concerned. So it was essential for me to get a foundation understanding of what happens as far as DNS is concerned.
I found the lecture and the materials to be absolutely excellent. It was in detail enough to be able to follow, but also not enough detail such that it was spoon-feeding you, and you actually needed to find the things yourself, which at the end of the day is actually best because you're actually learning how to configure these things yourself and fixing things yourself, which is very important for understanding what you need to do.
It was good, very good. Like, covered everything that I thought I was going to do and actually a little bit more. It was quite challenging at some points, but Mark does explain quite well, and then when you need help, all the other guys around are willing to come and show you, you've messed up here, you've done this wrong, so at least.
All of it is actually quite interesting, hey? Nerve-wracking in the beginning because you don't know what to expect. You come in with your guard up. Yes, that's the term I'm looking for. You come in with your guard up. You don't know what you're expecting. Also, you don't know the kind of people you're going to be interacting with. And you don't even know if you're going to understand anything, right? But then I think over the days, initially, of course, the first day for everyone, I think you're trying to figure out what's going on. But as time went on, first of all, people that are in the class with me were very warm and welcoming, which gave me a sense of, okay, I can relax, be myself, and be open. Like there was room open for me to actually ask questions should I need anything. So yeah, as the day went on, I really did feel like at home, and I love how everyone interacts with each other. So it's not, you don't feel like you are isolated or like just an individual, but it's a group of people just really helping each other figure everything out. So even the activities given went as difficult because at least we were a team.
So when you look at the content or component of the course, where the topics, the breakdown of topics of what needs to be done, it's very important to be doing the course. Ideally for every engineer out there, DNS is the most important component of the internet. Without DNS, most people would not understand what is going on because they would need to memorize IPs and stuff. But DNS does a lot more, including efficiency and speed of the internet and all sorts of things. So now, with this knowledge, one becomes much more aware of what needs to be done, how to optimize, how to secure. So it's been quite a very important course, and it will add a lot of value into my experience and knowledge further.
Very relevant and very useful. I actually became the registrar, domain registrar, a couple of years ago, but I've been using other ISPs and hosting companies to do what I could be doing on my own. And I think attending this course is useful because I can look into the direction of doing some of those things myself gradually, and so that eventually I'll be able to provide the whole suite of services by myself.
My line of work is mostly yet to be determined, but I will say it has influenced what I intend on doing in my line of work in the future, because I think it's a really cool field to go into.
I think it's going to be very useful. So, as Taito as a company grows, we require more knowledge about the domain name space, and because we do work for DNS, and it's helpful to know more about the domain name space and how domains work in order to do what we do. Running statistics on that space, a better understanding will definitely help us in our endeavors.
So I came here just out of curiosity. I'm into regulations. I regulate. So technically, from a technical aspect, I can just, respond to sort of technical discussions within ZADNA. Obviously, prior to this training, I had nothing. I didn't even understand what a server was, let alone what Linux is, So now I have a bit of an understanding, and I can speak to four what's it? PV? Is it PV? No, let me not get it wrong. But your primary and secondary server, and 6 and 4 PVs and
IPv.
those IPVs. There we go. So I can speak to those kind of things, even though obviously not to the level that my colleagues at ZADNA would obviously speak to issues around that. But just from a basic level, considering the fact that I have no background in DNS and ICT related.
Pretty much relevant. As I stated that in order for you to market in such a tech-savvy environment, you would need to first understand the terminology, understand how systems work, and once you are equipped with that information, then I think you're in a better position to do your job as a marketer, because you have all the fundamental and foundation as far as domain name systems it's concerned. When it comes to the quality, which I think I have touched on, look, I have got no clue. I came in 4 days ago with no understanding of how and servers work. I would highly recommend it to anybody who's in the IT field, because like in medicine, you have a GP, you have a neurologist, you have so many specialities, and I think if you're in IT, why not take this course? Who knows that you may be the future DNS specialist, especially considering that in South Africa we have shortage in that skill in particular. So I would love to see in the next future, in the next 5 years or so, for example, in UP, UJ, UNISA, where they are now offering DNS as an accredited course, because then it would make sense for a scholar to then take on that course, because then it's more like it's a professionalized. So very, very insightful, very interesting things that are happening in that space that often as ordinary people take for granted. You go on a search engine and you type in less than a second the information that you require pops, and as to how that happens, the amount of time it takes, behind the scene, configuration and all of those things, it's magnificent, and I think we have to, as a country, we have to give credit to the people who are managing the DNS system, because it can break. I mean, I've been doing lab work in the past 3 days. You try to configure something and it doesn't work, and you just don't know what you did wrong. You have to go back to your records and see, or maybe I inserted a space where there shouldn't be a space, I inserted a dot where there shouldn't be a dot. So you can imagine a person who is sitting behind the computer doing that work day in, day out, and also taking into account things like human error. If I can do a typo on a Word document, it's quite obvious that whoever that is sitting behind the computer doing all this DNS work, they are most likely to do errors. But if that had happened, then the ZA would have shut down or something. It has never happened throughout my history of. So it means they're doing a great job. They're doing a fantastic job, and I don't think they're getting the recognition that they deserve.
So I work in security as a security analyst, which it falls into many categories, including networking, endpoints, servers, everything under there. And since I'm going on to the more offensive side now as well, I know how to pull apart DNS, but I've never understood, what's under the hood. And with this course, it's kind of given me the key details I needed to understand to know what was under the hood. So now if I actually go ahead and go and do a penetration test on something, I know exactly what I'm looking at, and I know how to configure too. So that's my key takeaways from this. It was for complete and utter understanding of what DNS is.
Look, so I work more on the support side of things, like client facing with my guys, but technically all day we're getting queries about DNS, and you're speaking about it all day, but you have like a very, very basic understanding of it. That's why we kind of decided or asked our company, will they let us go and learn a little bit more. So with regards to building the systems and stuff that we've learned, I don't think it'd be like very useful, but having more of an understanding is going to help. And also on the advanced course, to actually understand what people are asking for and practically like where it can and can't work will help a lot.
Very relevant, because prior to me coming in, yes, I had been working with DNS, except I wasn't really aware of the fundamentals, or rather the foundation of DNS. Typical example, when you're gonna be creating a zone for a domain, for instance, you don't know background steps that need to be taken for, right, each and everything. So now, having gotten this training, it really gave me, I think, more momentum and more understanding of why we do what in the field. So I'm very happy about this, and yeah, it is very relevant to my work.
It's a difficult one, because for me, almost everything was new. I don't have any background in Linux, so I was learning all the way. So for me, almost everything was useful. And
I think the most useful aspect was learning about DNSSEC, because it is a very poorly adopted part of DNS, and it solves a lot of the security problems that one encounters more regularly.
I think just being able to get your own server and set it up from scratch, so learning the raw like bind 9 or unbound configs really helps you understand what you're doing in a very fine-grained way. And it means that later on, when you have even if you are working with this stuff behind more abstractions, you know what's going on behind in the back end, so that allows you to debug better and understand what you're doing.
Creating primary and secondary servers and the background work that goes into that. I'm excited about that. I'm going to play around with it just for a couple of weeks extra, just to make sure, and make a lot more mistakes probably. But just the fact that I came here not knowing what the ones and twos and the dashes mean, and now I know what the hyphens and where everything goes. Just creating IMRs, creating primary, secondary servers, and now actually just getting into discussions of DNSSEC.
I actually quite enjoyed doing the physical stuff, like actually instead of sitting listening to someone talk all day, going into the VM and trying to build it yourself was quite enjoyable, I must say. Really enjoyed that.
Look, I got the framework into understanding. One of the things the course leaves out is an opportunity to go out further and research. So it structures the topics so that you are able to then go and learn more about that topic outside of the 4-day. I guess the 4-day is a bit short, but then one can then go further. So it would help if the course managers can then provide an avenue for past students to still interact with them in setting up their own. You would find from here one has to go and train other people. You would be expected that you have done the DNS course, therefore you know a little bit more. And then if we could have some other access into relating back with the course to say, okay, now I'm covering sections alone, much in depth. How do I go about it? If such a facility could be provided, that would be great.
I can't really tell what was lacking, and yeah.
I didn't find any issue with the course. It didn't bother me in any way, and I thought the pacing was really good, and the way the lab practicals were set up in conjunction with the theory, I think really worked well. Yeah.
I don't think so.
How did you find out about the course?
So I don't think so, but I also wouldn't know what to compare it to say that it's lacking in this, or what I found was what I didn't know, and now I know. So now maybe moving forward, I can just reflect. But I'm really excited to get into the DNS Sec after this, just to sort of, now get into the security aspect of it. But I have nothing to compare it to actually say it lagged, so it doesn't lag. This is my first time.
No, there for an introductory course to DNS, it was absolutely perfect.
Not really, hey. Like I said earlier, I thought that we were going to do a lot less than this. So when I came here and saw it was quite in depth, I was quite surprised. So yeah, I wouldn't say anything because it covered most of the stuff. I thought I was coming here actually more.
I wouldn't say lacking, but I think for an intro, I feel like it is advanced, actually. It'll take you one step further, as opposed to when you come in, you'd be assuming or thinking that you are treated as a grade R student, where you start from the ground up. But instead, I'd say it's level 1 DNS instead of the actual introduction. Otherwise, no, I wouldn't take away anything from it.
It was online, but I already know about the course because I've done it before in 2011, and I had done the advanced course. The challenge that I would see with this course is in that year, when I learned about the course online, when I was searching around, there was an advanced course, the intro, which is what I'm doing now, had already passed, and the space between the intro and the advanced is quite too far apart. One would wish, if only, the course could have maybe a much closer cycle between the intro and the advanced, so that when you come to the intro, let's say now in March, and maybe in April you do the advanced, maybe in a 2-month space you have done the entire course. That would help retain the knowledge and do it all together. So I had already done the advanced course without doing the intro course, and the course hasn't been there for many years until now. So I'm only actually starting again.
I got an email because I'm a registrar. An email that was inviting me to the course last year. I couldn't come, and but then we communicated so that the deposit that I had paid last year could be used this year because I couldn't come. To underline the fact that this course is important and I considered it as such, I drove all the way from KZN through all those potholes. And I had to also get accommodation in one of the B&Bs close by to come and do the course, because for me, money should not be the determining factor if you want to gain knowledge. Knowledge for me is the ultimate, because whatever I have spent in coming here, I know I will get back from the knowledge that I've acquired here if I put it into practice in the future.
I found out about the course through some friends that did it last year at Tux, so that's where I heard of it.
I actually found out on LinkedIn. I saw the LinkedIn post there, and then I went through the link. Yeah.
Via my sister Sarah, who did the course last year.
Saw an email from you guys because we are subscribed to all your marketing stuff, because obviously we deal with domain renewals and stuff like that. So when you guys notify on certain changes, I always get those notifications, and we saw the mail that you guys sent out about this training.
Actually, I was going through our ticketing system at Synergy where I work, and then it was a ticket that just came through on, we use the system called Lassie. So when I was going through stuff, and I just found it there, and then I read, I'm like, okay, DNS training course. I'm like, oh, what is this? Besides, I like to learn new things, and I never want to feel stagnant. So if there's anything I can take from somewhere, then yeah. So I then, after seeing that, I spoke to a colleague who had worked for COZA before, and I was like, listen, I saw something like this. Is it actually something legitimate that happens? And she was like, oh yes, great. Do you want to go? I think you should go, actually. And in fact, not just this one, but also go to, because I believe there's the introduction, and then there's another one that's gonna come. What's it called? The advanced one. Yes. So yeah, that's how she was like, yes, I'm highly recommending it. In fact, register. She was like, in fact, I'm gonna help you register in this thing. You need to go. So yeah.
Yes, definitely. It's a very important course. One of the things that's important about the course is done under the auspices of the National Registrar. Therefore, you are actually at source. So it's more like you are at the root of, so using the root, at the root of the course. The owners of the whole process are actually teaching you. Johan, who is one of the managers of some of the root servers, I believe, is a tailor of the course. That means you're actually learning DNS from the people who actually manage the internet in the world. So it's actually quite a marvelous opportunity to have.
Definitely. Actually, I will also be encouraging my own daughter. My last born daughter is doing an honors degree at DUT, Durban University of Technology, in ICT. And I'm sure that she would understand most of the things better than me, being a self-taught IT specialist, because she's doing programming, and I understand that someone who has done programming would actually catch most of these things easier than a person coming from my background.
I definitely would if they are more intent on working with the DNS system, of course, or just generally with networking. And even if those aren't your particular interests, I still think that it teaches you a lot of fundamentals to do with the internet, broadly speaking, that I think is really useful.
Definitely, yeah. In the organization, most of us have actually done the intro already, and so I don't think that would be quite useful, but definitely my peers, especially at university, I think could benefit a lot from this.
I'm really looking forward to the advanced course.
I would actually recommend people do it, as especially with our networking, people do have knowledge gaps, and I mean, I can say this was a knowledge gap for me, as I've never done a formal networking course myself. So this was a big knowledge gap, and even people that have done networking, just to have a more detailed look at what is going on in DNS. I mean, networking is again a very broad field, so yeah, I would actually recommend people do it.
Definitely would. You know, like I say, you're speaking about it all day and dealing with it all day. You know, it does help to go learn exactly what it is that you're talking about. There's also like a lot of the time you get a client who knows a lot more than you, and you're standing there from the company perspective saying, oh no, we can't do this, because you've just been told that you can't do it. You don't actually know what he wants from you. You know what I mean? Or like, what is his purpose, or what's going on? So now at least like I understand a bit more, and I can say, you know, we can do this, but we don't for this reason.
Honestly, yes, I would. absolutely. We are getting information that we're supposed to know, especially dealing with DNS clients every single day. They come with questions all the time, and so if you cannot answer, it gives off the idea that you don't know what you're doing. And remember, domains are very sensitive. It's a whole DNS, in fact, as a whole, is very sensitive. So imagine if now a client comes and this is what they need, and you have no idea what they're talking about. It gives off the idea that you are putting their domain names, ultimately their emails, their websites at risk. So it's important that you definitely come in and learn.
I think that would be a good idea. From personal experience, DNS is people go through it, but not as in depth as this course does, which I think could be adopted. And I mean, I would personally love to do more in an advanced course or something like that.
Definitely. There's actually a module in third year for computer science about networking, and I think that this would actually integrate really well with that, especially maybe as like a guest lecture.
Yes, if I was studying like computer science or IT or something, it would have been exceptionally beneficial. I came from the mathematics side, so I'm jumping into this myself. But if I had actually done something such as computer science, where I had that background knowledge, this would have been exceptionally beneficial.
Well, for me in particular, I'm quite grateful to the course managers who, ideally the course needs skin in the meat sort of deposit 2,000 Rand just to show commitment when people register online. At learning that I didn't have that funds at the time, they allowed me into the course, and I think there is a lot of people out there who would want to do the course but might not manage to have that. But already the course is free. It is quite a benefit to the community at large. The course is free, you attend your full session, you get your deposit back. So even then, we would encourage companies to really put a lot more people into the courses, and then encourage the course managers to do much more regular trainings, and maybe do more train the trainers so that they can maybe sub-manage other trainings countrywide. You find if they train enough trainers themselves, a course could be running concurrently in Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town, everywhere, and then they just do the course regulation and quality control assessments so that the course is at this level.
Yes, I actually am very grateful to the people that have put this course together, and to the people that have organized that there should be participants like me coming here to benefit from it. And the fact that it is offered free of charge, it's actually a cherry on top. And no one should have a reason not to do this course, because I mean it's offered free of charge.
Just thank you to the team, and I had a really great time.
Nothing from that at all. Apparently, I should mention advanced DNS. I would be very interested in doing it if it's offered.
Yes, I do. I mean, DNSSEC, for instance, yes, for me, it's one of the biggest takeaways. Understanding encryption, I think understanding records, okay, how a typical CNAME works, what it does to a domain name, and why we add such things, and so I think I'm just grateful. Thank you to Rosary for this initiative. It's beautiful to have. It's what a lot of people need, because it's also a space for us to meet with other people from other registrars. So it's also a beautiful space for networking. Besides the fact that you get a lot of knowledge, also you meet other people, and who knows, in the near future you can collaborate and work something beautiful out. After all, we do need each other in this industry.
I think it went quite well, considering that we have quite a few students that were sort of very lacking in their technical knowledge. They still managed to get through the labs and I think to quite a good degree understand the information.
It was better because the understanding was improved on my side. But obviously in terms of the students, they tend to differ. So initially it was a bit slow and eventually it picked up.
The training itself seems to have gone quite nicely. The more you do, the better you get, I guess. If there's a bad downside to this year's training, it's the traffic getting to and from the premises. And I'm so glad I normally work from home.
Second time around, it went far more better than the first time. Of course, now I do know a lot more than I did last year, and I could assist a lot more of the students with the team. So the experience was definitely there.
So I do think that there is definitely a market for a one-day pure intro DNS course, which would basically focus on basic DNS records without building name servers, like what our ISP would do, more for the marketing people, people that really don't have a technical background but will still like to understand how to register domain names, how to put in their records, how to update records, that kind of thing. And I think one day would be suitable for that.
Okay, so most of the people are complaining about the manuals, the way they're structured. So either we introduce how the manuals work better, because it looks like, as much as we try to do that, it looks like the message just went over most of the people's heads. So they were all over the head and they were not flowing the structure. So that caused confusion and anxiety. So they were not flowing better. But as the days went, as we kept emphasizing it, it picked up better. But they still complained about how the information is structured. They say it's difficult to learn and to follow. So I think if you can work on that. Yeah.
I was a little shaken by the attendance this time that we didn't get an overflow of people. I don't know quite why that is, unless it was because perhaps we didn't advertise it quite as we have done in the past. I don't think there's too much to do to improve the course. I like how it's gone. The facilities have been great. If there's a regret that I've got about the course, it's that every lunchtime my chips were cold and everyone else's chips were cold. So apart from that, no, it's been fine.
What we can do to improve the course, I do believe that probably the naming of DNS Intro should be changed to DNS Intermediate, and perhaps also highlight some of the prerequisites for the learners or students that want to apply, so they can really know that you do need to understand about open source in order to come, and some sort of knowledge around networking and name servers and DNS. Yeah. So perhaps have a DNS intro where they really just talk about the fundamentals.
I don't think so. Primarily, I do think that it's a challenge that certain people do attend the course without the prior prerequisites, without the Unix or Linux skills, and that does make it quite challenging then for them even just to start learning how to type. Even though they manage to cope with it, I do think that that's definitely something that is always emphasized, I think, in previous classes that we've had, and should still be a prerequisite.
Can't think of anything except for what I mentioned in the previous point.
As the teaching goes on, practical examples would really be of help to the students. So not just only explaining with slides, but then also giving the students practical examples as to this is how you do this, etc., etc. Because certain students are more visual than just hearing.
I think that at the end of the labs, once they'd done it, they did get the they did grasp the concept, so that was quite nice. But they did have to struggle a little bit to really get the as when they started, it was quite difficult for them to get going.
It did, because they didn't know the environment, like things like your CP or opening files, where files are. Sometimes you just log into a server, you don't cd to a correct directory, and you start working, and then when you come back, you can't find the file because you created it in a different directory. So that affected the course a lot. It actually gave me a feeling that maybe it would help if we kind of force people to go through a basic Linux course, so that people understand this environment. And there was a bunch of those. Most of the people are in Windows, so they kind of struggled. And most of them are used to working for registrars where it's a GUI environment. So getting in terminal was just weird territory for them. So most of the people were thrown off by that.
It's a great shame when we first started doing the DNS training courses, the people that came on the courses were the actual administrators at ISPs. Therefore, things like Unix skills were not a problem. Over time, there has been more and more people with non-Unix skills. We have told people that it's a prerequisite, that they should be trained in it, but they, I think, ignore us to an extent. As a lot of the work initially is in fact just typing things, even people with VI skills, that's one thing that I would change. Is the version of VI or Vim that we have on the machine is rather outdated.
I do feel that with the amount of trainers around, it could assist because we could cater to the students that did not have the proper foundation of understanding the DNS training. But they will definitely need some fundamentals, like go back and refresh themselves with the knowledge that they learned here today, or this week.
Okay, so it's very beneficial because it helps us to educate registrars and other stakeholders in the industry. So the more proficient they are, the less support work and basically stuff like that we have to do.
How do they benefit DNS? By giving this basic knowledge to people, I believe what we're doing is we're giving the opportunity to people to at least understand what DNS is, and hopefully go back and be more intelligent, more bright at their places of work. We're also teaching people how to be a registrar, and I guess more registrars within South Africa isn't necessarily a bad thing, even if they are only small registrars. So it's a great opportunity, and it should happen in every African country.
I feel that in South Africa, not a lot of people know much about internet. They just know what to connect, and that's it. They just know that we connect to the internet. This does give them some sort of background as to that there are other moving parts in order for the internet to work, and for them to understand vaguely what happens in ISPs as well as the registries and the registrars. So it is extremely important, especially seeing that we are already inside the digital age.
That's a great idea. That's what I had in mind. I think it would help a lot because we spend a lot of time teaching VI. Somebody would edit and they say, how do I exit my file? They would mess up a line. How do I undo that? So those come up a lot. So even though most of the guys picked up, but they're still struggling with the environment.
It could be an intermediate course. I believe there was a look at creating a one-day course more for management, so that they had a clue what their staff might be doing. It's a possibility. I'm not really sure though.